The morning light was already spilling across the kitchen floor when the phone vibrated, and for a moment I didn't recognize the sound as something meant for me. 21 days of complete silence had trained my body to believe nothing was coming anymore. Then I saw her name on the screen, glowing quietly like a ghost that refused to rest, and the words sat there, simple and devastating, asking if we could talk, as if the last 3 weeks hadn't hollowed me out, as if betrayal could be paused and resumed like a conversation left unfinished. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of forgiveness, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, Kindness Journal, because stories like this live on through people who still believe hearts can heal. My name is Rowan Hale, and until that morning, I had learned how to survive by pretending my phone was just another object, not a lifeline I checked every few minutes. The silence hadn't been loud or dramatic, it was daytime silence, the kind that follows you into grocery stores, into traffic lights, into the steady hum of work emails and polite smiles. Mira, my wife of 6 years, had walked out on a bright Tuesday afternoon, sunlight pouring through the front door as she said she needed space, and then she disappeared into a quiet that felt more final than any shouted goodbye. Friends told me silence meant clarity, that time would reveal the truth, but what it really revealed was how fragile a life can feel when someone you built it with stops speaking your name. Every day began the same way. Morning light, coffee growing cold, the house too neat because there was no one left to make a mess. I went to work, answered questions, laughed at the right moments, and came home to a place that echoed with absence. I replayed memories in daylight like scenes from a film that refused to fade, Mira laughing barefoot in the kitchen, Mira leaning out the car window on summer drives, Mira promising that no matter what, we would talk things through. Betrayal doesn't always arrive with shouting or slammed doors, sometimes it arrives as a quiet decision made without you, leaving you to fill in the blanks alone. By the second week, I stopped explaining her absence to people. By the third, I stopped explaining it to myself. I told myself that silence was her answer, that dignity meant letting go, that healing meant moving forward even when your heart drags behind you. I started walking during my lunch breaks, letting the sun warm my face as if it could burn away the ache. I noticed small things again, like the way leaves shimmer at noon, or how strangers smile without knowing your story. There was a strange strength growing there, not happiness, but endurance, the quiet kind that holds you upright when you feel like collapsing. Then came the message, arriving in full daylight, not under the cover of night. It didn't ask for forgiveness or explain anything. It simply asked to talk. My hands shook as I set the phone down, as if it were something fragile or dangerous. I thought about all the unanswered questions, all the nights I stared at the ceiling, all the times I defended her in my head against accusations she didn't even know existed. I wondered whether replying would reopen a wound that was just beginning to scar over, or whether not replying would turn that scar into something hard and permanent. I didn't answer right away. I let the day continue. I washed the mug, answered emails, watched the clock inch forward. The sun stayed high, almost indifferent, reminding me that life doesn't pause for personal tragedies. Somewhere between noon and afternoon, I realized that the silence had changed me. It had stripped away my illusions, but it had also shown me my own capacity to survive. If I replied, it wouldn't be from desperation anymore. It would be from choice. We met in a small park where the grass was bright and children's laughter floated in the distance, life continuing unapologetically around us. Seeing Mira again in daylight was disorienting. She looked familiar and distant at the same time, like a place you once called home but hadn't visited in years. Her eyes held exhaustion, not guilt, and for a moment I understood that whatever had happened hadn't been simple for either of us. We sat across from each other on a bench warmed by the sun, the space between us filled with everything we hadn't said. The truth, when it came, wasn't dramatic. There was no single villain, no grand confession. Mira spoke of feeling lost, of making choices she didn't fully understand until it was too late, of running from conversations because she didn't know how to face them. Betrayal, I learned, isn't always about cruelty. sometimes it's about fear and silence feeding each other until damage is done. Listening hurt, but it also grounded me. This was real, messy, human, not the catastrophic ending I had imagined alone in the dark. I didn't forgive her that day. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip, it's a road you decide to walk, step by painful step. What changed was something quieter. I realized that my worth wasn't defined by her choices, and that any future, together or apart, would have to be built on honesty, not hope alone. We talked about counseling, about boundaries, about the possibility that love can survive betrayal only if both people are willing to do the work in daylight, not hidden in silence. In the weeks that followed, we moved slowly. Some days were heavy, others unexpectedly light. There were moments when old warmth resurfaced, and moments when distance felt safer. But the silence was gone, replaced by difficult, necessary conversations. I learned to speak my pain without accusation, and she learned to listen without running. The house began to feel less like a museum of memories and more like a place where new ones might someday exist. What surprised me most was how the experience reshaped my understanding of kindness. Kindness wasn't ignoring the hurt or pretending everything was fine. It was choosing honesty over avoidance, compassion over punishment, even when anger felt justified. Whether our marriage would fully heal was still uncertain, but I was no longer trapped in limbo. I was living again, in full daylight, aware of my strength and my limits. If this story has reached into your heart, if it reminds you of a silence you've lived through or a second chance you're still considering, please take a moment near the end of this video to like, share, and engage, because your support helps stories of healing reach others who feel alone. Just before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below with one word that describes what this story made you feel, because your words might be the kindness someone else needs today. That morning message didn't erase the past, but it changed the future. It reminded me that even after betrayal, even after weeks of unanswered questions, connection is still possible when courage replaces fear. The sun was setting by the time I finally replied, and as the light softened, I felt something loosen inside me, not certainty, but peace. Sometimes healing doesn't come from forgetting the pain, but from facing it together, in the open, where shadows can't hide, and where even broken hearts can learn to beat steadily again.